In the heart of the lush green mountains, nestled among whispering trees and winding paths, there lay a small forgotten village named Arola. The people there lived simple lives, farming, weaving, and telling stories under the starlit skies. But what set Arola apart from all others was one woman, Amaji. Amaji wasn't just anyone. She was the oldest person in the village, nearly 90, and known to all as the keeper of forgotten wisdom. With her wrinkled hands and kind eyes, she had been the quiet backbone of the village for decades. But it wasn't until a crisis struck that her true strength was revealed. One monsoon, heavier than any in the past century, ravaged the valley. Landslides cut the village off from the outside world, crops were destroyed, livestock died, and the air was thick with sickness. Children developed strange fevers, adults complained of unbearable fatigue, and nothing seemed to help. The village doctor had left years ago, and medicines from the city were now impossible to get. Panic began to set in. People whispered about curses, some even prepared to leave everything behind and flee into the unknown, until Amaji spoke. Her voice, soft yet commanding, echoed in the gathering of villagers beneath the banyan tree. I have something, an old recipe from my grandmother. It healed once, it may heal again. People listened, half in hope, half in doubt. After all, who believes in ancient recipes in the age of machines and medicine? But Amaji moved with quiet confidence. She asked the children to gather certain leaves from the forest: bitter neem, sweet tulsi, dried amla. She called for raw turmeric, crushed ginger, and honey that only bees from the northern cliff collected. Everyone contributed something. The men helped with the fire, the women ground the herbs, and the children ran about bringing what was needed. For the first time since the disaster, the village came alive again, not just in movement, but in spirit. As the sun set behind the drenched mountains, a strange aroma filled the air. Earthy, spicy, comforting. Amaji stirred her concoction slowly in a large clay pot. It wasn't just soup, it was medicine. It was memory. It was hope. If you've ever heard a story that made you pause and feel warmth in your heart, you're gonna love what happens next in this tale. So, before we continue, take a moment to subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories that stay with you long after the video ends. We bring you daily tales filled with heart, tradition, and timeless wisdom. Now, as the first batch of Amaji's recipe. 2. The pot simmered gently, releasing a rich, spicy aroma that floated through the air like a whisper of forgotten times. As the villagers gathered closer, eyes wide and hearts pounding with anticipation, Amma stirred with a quiet rhythm, humming an old tune only the elders remembered. Children who had never tasted anything but dried grains and bitter herbs leaned forward. The young ones giggled, unsure whether to trust their noses or their stomachs. The men looked on skeptically, arms crossed but eyes betraying curiosity. The women exchanged glances, some of hope, others of disbelief. But when Amma finally ladled the golden stew into clay bowls and passed them around, the village fell silent. The first taste was met with stunned eyes. A second bite brought tears. The flavors danced on the tongue, simple, earthy, and warm. Yet somehow it awakened something deeper: memories of laughter, of festivals, of better days long buried under hardship. People began to eat faster. Bowls emptied and were refilled. Children scraped the bottoms for the last drops. For a moment, there was no hunger, no despair, only unity around a fire, bound by a flavor that seemed almost magical. Amma said nothing. only smiled. Later that night, the village elder, Baba Farid, visited Amma. "Where did you learn this?" he asked, his voice soft but firm. Amma looked into the fire. "It's my mother's recipe," she whispered, "passed down to feed not just the body but the soul." She explained that the key wasn't the ingredients, although they were all native to the land, things people had stopped using out of forgetfulness or fear. The real secret was timing, patience, and heart. The roots were to be pulled only after the third rain. The spices needed sun drying for 7 days. The broth had to simmer with the rhythm of a heartbeat, slow and loving. Baba Farid listened, then did something he hadn't done in years. He laughed, not out of mockery, but relief. The next day, Amma invited the women of the village to cook with her. She showed them the technique. She explained the significance of each step. More than that, she spoke of why these traditions mattered, how food was never just food, but a link to ancestors, culture, and healing. And something began to change. People who hadn't spoken in years began chatting while grinding spices. Children learned how to identify herbs in the fields. The sick began recovering. The cold felt warmer. And soon, what started as a simple pot of stew became a ritual. Word of the miracle meal spread to neighboring villages. People came with offerings, salt, lentils, dried fruits, and sat beside the next morning as the sun painted golden streaks across the sky. Villagers lined up in front of Daadi Ama's house. They came with empty bowls, hopeful hearts, and whispered prayers. Daddy Amma, though frail in body, moved with strength in her purpose. One by one, she handed out portions of the warm, aromatic broth. No gold, no silver, just her care, her recipe, and a deep desire to help her people. At first, people were skeptical. Could something so simple, so old-fashioned, really work? But within days, something miraculous began to happen. The coughing children began to sleep better. The weak elderly were able to walk with more ease. The village, once silent with despair, began to echo with laughter and life again. Word spread to nearby villages that a forgotten healer had brought her people back from the edge. But not everyone was happy. The traveling traders and snake oil salesmen who had profited from the village's desperation began to lose their hold. They tried to discredit Dadi Amma. They said it was black magic, a fluke, just luck. But people had seen it with their own eyes. They felt it in their bones. They knew the truth. And when the government health officer visited weeks later, even he was stunned by the transformation. "Who did this?" he asked, notebook in hand. Everyone pointed toward Daddy Amma's home. But Daddy Amma wasn't seeking fame or recognition. When the officer asked for her secret, she simply said, "It's not just the ingredients, beta. It's the love, the patience, the prayer I stir in with every spoon." Still, the officer insisted on documenting her work. She finally handed over a tattered notebook filled with handwritten notes and herbal combinations passed down from generations before her. That notebook became the foundation of a rural wellness initiative, helping not only her village but many others across the region. But what truly cemented her legacy wasn't just the recipe, it was the lesson that followed. When the village began to thrive again, they wanted to erect a statue in her honor. Daddy Amma declined. "Don't build a statue," she said softly. "Build a school. Teach our children these forgotten ways. Let them grow up knowing that their roots hold power, that their heritage is their strength." And so, a school was built next to the village banyan tree. The first lesson written on the board was this: kindness, wisdom, and heritage can save lives, even when the world forgets them. As Daddy Amma sat quietly under the shade of the tree, watching children run and play, she smiled. She had done what no medicine, no riches could have done: revived a village's spirit with a bowl of soup and a heart full of love. 4. And so, with hearts united and the wisdom of Amma's recipe guiding them, the villagers worked day and night. The once silent village now echoed with laughter, music, and the clinking of pots and pans. Fields that had turned dry now flourished, because people finally cared for each other again. The market, once a dull grey strip of silence, turned into a colorful festival of smells and sounds. The dish, lovingly called Amma's blessing, was now prepared every full moon, not just for nourishment, but to bring everyone together. The recipe wasn't just about what went into the pot, it was about who sat around it. They invited neighboring villages, travelers passing by, even people they had once disliked. The aroma reached hearts before it reached noses. It wasn't just food, it was healing. And the most beautiful part, the village, once known for sorrow and silence, became a place known across the land for its warmth and kindness. Travelers would walk miles just to experience that one meal, not because it was the tastiest, but because of how it made them feel. People would sit beside strangers, share stories, wipe each other's tears, and live as friends. Marriages happened, disputes settled, and feuds ended over that one meal. Amma's recipe, once guarded as a secret, became a gift to the world. As for Amma, she never claimed fame or praise. She simply sat on a wooden stool by the fire, smiling softly as generations grew kinder and wiser under her gaze. Children would gather around her to hear tales of old, always ending with the same message. A heart full of love can feed 1,000. A heart full of hate can't feed even one. Years passed, and Amma finally became a story herself. But the recipe, her blessing, remained, painted on walls, sung in songs, written in hearts. And every time someone stirred a pot with love, it was said that Amma smiled from the skies. So, dear viewer, as you listen to this story from your corner of the world, ask yourself, what's your recipe? What kindness, what wisdom, what love can you pass on to others? Maybe your words, your food, your time, or even your smile could be the secret that changes someone's life. Maybe you are someone's Amma. If this story touched your heart, we invite you to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories just like this. Stories that remind us of who we are and what we can become. Leave us a comment. What lesson did you take away from Amma's journey? And never forget, no act of love is ever wasted. Whether in a small village or a big city, your kindness is a secret recipe the world is hungry for. Thank you for being here. Until next time, stay kind, stay warm, and keep the fire of love burning.